This is a long variety of cucumbers we're about to plant. These beds were pre-prepped with some compost, and that's why the dirt looks so dark and rich. And you can see here on the back of every seed packet, it will tell you how deep to plant the seeds, among other useful information. For these cucumbers, we're going to make 1/2-inch holes for the seeds to germinate, and this may look like a lot of seeds in one area, but we can always come back once the seeds have sprouted and thin the ones that don't look very strong if we need to give them a little more room. Now we'll cover up our seeds, water them, and wait patiently for them to sprout. Now we're here a week later, and there we have it, cucumber seedlings. And here are those seedlings all grown up, making their way skyward. And here's a shot of their flower blossoms. Yellow will attract insects to pollinate the blossoms. That is what the plant wants, so it can produce fruit, thus furthering its ability to reproduce with the seeds inside of the fruit. Here's a shot of some baby cucumbers starting, still with their flowers attached. That flower was pollinated with a pollinator. There's one right there on the leaf. You can also see the tendrils doing an excellent job of climbing and supporting this vining plant. Here's a shot of a cucumber starting to get a bit bigger. The leaves look very similar to a squash plant because they are in the same family known as curcubits. This family also includes zucchini, pumpkins, melons, and many others. This is the long variety of cucumber we planted way back when. It's a great variety for pickling. They're producing pretty well so far. This is a close-up of young dill leaves, interplanted with some lettuce. They are excellent companions in the garden together. Here is a dill plant all grown up and flowered. Those are called dill heads. You can use the flowers in place of the feathery leaves as well, just note it is a much more concentrated aroma and flavor. At the bottom of the dill plant are the feathery leaves that we normally harvest. You can still harvest the bottom feathery leaves even though the plant has gone to flower. Now here's a shot of dill that has gone to flower, and the seeds are soon ready to be collected. You can see the brown flower, it's all dried out.
Now you might wonder if cucumbers have any nutritional benefit. Well, the answer is yes. They may seem to be all water, but in fact one large cuke has 62% of the RDI for vitamin K, as well as some vitamin C, magnesium, potassium, and manganese. And as with all veggies with edible skins, please try to eat the skin. That's where most of the fiber and a bigger concentration of the vitamins and minerals are. Dill is an herb that's in the celery family. It's related also to caraway. If you see the dill seed and the caraway seed, they look alike. And like most herbs, dill is great for you. It has vitamin C, vitamin A, and it's also a very potent antioxidant. We're going to make some quick refrigerator pickles here. No canning needed. If you have a lot of cucumbers and you don't know what to do with them and you feel like, oh my god, I have never pickled before, well, let me set your mind at ease. We have, of course, our friends, the cucumbers, and best to use either gherkins that are meant for pickling or these long, skinny, taper type that we have here. White vinegar, pickling spice, which I didn't have any, and so I looked up what's in pickling spice. When we show you the list of what you might want to put in your pickling spice, I bet you will have a lot of those ingredients already. And since these are dill pickles, we have some dill heads and salt. What I have there is labeled pickling salt, but you can use any salt. Okay, first step, we're going to cut our cucumbers up and fit them tightly into a jar. It doesn't have to be a mason jar. It can be any kind of a jar with a good tight-fitting lid. This is the stem end because it's got a little stem. This is the blossom end. The blossom end has enzymes in it that can take away from the crispness of the cucumber when it's pickled. So we're always going to cut that blossom end off. And I'm going to cut them into spears because I sort of like spears. But remember, you can cut them any way you want. I wouldn't cut them super thin because you do want them to stay crisp. Okay, then we're going to pack them into the jar. Since we want them to fit tightly, we're going to kind of lay them in there instead of throwing them in any old which way. We don't want them all the way up to the top because we want some headroom. About like that. Next, we're going to mix the rest of our ingredients, which is going to be our brine. We have 8 ounces of water. We have 6 ounces of vinegar. The ratio is pretty much 3 parts vinegar to 4 parts water for pickling. And then we're going to do our tablespoon of salt, okay. A teaspoon of our homemade pickling spice, which has fennel seeds, some whole cloves, a squished up half of a cinnamon stick, broken up bay leaf, and a little bit of ground ginger and some mustard seed. Extra mustard seed we're going to put in. It's a half teaspoon of mustard seed and about a half a teaspoon of peppercorns. And our 2 heads of dill. We can either put in the whole dill or we can pick off the flowers and put them in. Okay, we have boiled our brine, and in addition to melding the flavors, the boiled brine is going to kill any microorganisms living on the surface of the cucumbers, and that way it will keep in the refrigerator for longer. So we're going to take our boiling hot brine, and we're going to kind of swirl it to float all the ingredients in suspension there. We're going to pour our brine over our pickles, and then what we can also do is kind of take the back end of this wooden spoon and kind of smush these guys down there, and we can even shake it a little bit to have them sink down there. I can see them dropping down so that they will give our pickles a fab flavor. And that's really all there is to it. We're going to let them cool to room temperature, and then we're going to put them in the refrigerator. And they'll keep in the refrigerator for about 3 weeks or so. And here are our beautiful refrigerator pickles with a lid on. It's not a mason lid. It's one of those plastic jar lids you can get from mason jars because it's more convenient than the two-piece mason lid. You should refrigerate them for about 24 hours before you serve them so they're nice and cold and crunchy. Bon appetit and happy pickle eating!